Good morning, everyone. This is Pin from VERICO, Canada. I wanted to welcome you to this VERICO Professional Success Series webinar. Mike Halpert from Focal Point from the Brian Tracy Group will be taking us through some social media tips and tools that will make your business a magnet. So, Mike, are you able to hear me?
Yes. Thank you very much, Tim, for that introduction.
No
Welcome,
problem.
Everyone. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of our VERICO Success Series. Pleased to talk to you today about social media tools to make your business a magnet. So just a picture of me, just so you have a visual of that's me with Brian Tracy at our recent Focal Point International Conference. And today we're going to take you through just a brief agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about what does it mean to be a magnet, and then we're going to go through 3 key steps of how to become a magnet. We're going to specifically talk about Facebook today and Facebook as a tool to attract that and walk you through some very specific things on how to do this. We're going to give you a quick roadmap on how to take action to become that magnet and what to do on Facebook to become that magnet. We're not going to talk about a lot of technical things today. We're going to talk about how to really leverage Facebook to be able to build your business as a magnet to attract the people that you want to attract. And then we'll take some questions. All right? Sound great. So first off, let's talk about what does it mean to be a magnet. And we'll turn to the authority on everything, Wikipedia. And you'll notice here that in the definition for a magnet, it obviously references the Greek, but it's a material and object that produces a magnetic field. Now, a magnetic field is invisible, but is most noted for its property that it's a force that pulls on other materials and attracts or repels other magnets. So I want you to really highlight that phrase, the force that pulls, and that the idea is that we're going to talk about leveraging social media, in particular Facebook today, to pull in and attract those prospects, candidates, people that you want to attract to your business. So how do you become a magnet? Well, step 1 is you have to decide what it is you want to attract, right? Who do you actually want to attract to your business? And for this, we're going to go through 7 characteristics of an ideal prospect, and this comes from Brian's work. And so we're going to go through these 7 ideal characteristics. So these characteristics are things that you probably know and hear from before, but let me walk you through these just so we're clear on what these are. So first, a key characteristic of an ideal prospect is someone that can and will buy from you, right? That they're capable of purchasing, meaning they're capable of actually executing a loan. Obviously, qualification is a whole separate issue, right? But they have to be able to invest the time and be able to provide all the things that you need to actually go through this process within a reasonable period of time. Secondly, they have to actually have a genuine need. And this is the difference between tire kickers and people that really have a need to execute a loan, right? That they clearly, if they're checking things out but they're not really willing to go through the process, they're not a great prospect for you today, right, in the near term. Third, they have to be willing and able to make this buying decision and sign on the dotted line in a reasonable amount of time, right, in the very near future. You don't want to spend an inordinate amount of your time getting nowhere and investing a bunch of time that doesn't turn into an opportunity for you that gets closed and generates revenue for you. Fourth, this person needs to know, like, and respect you, right? There has to be trust. And so you have to, this relates to how you brand yourself, right, and how you build relationships. Fifth, this person, an ideal prospect, needs to perceive high value in what you bring to the table, what you and your company bring to the table. So the level of service that you provide, the breadth of options that you bring to the table, they have to value that, right? If they're simply oriented around doing the transaction, they may not be your ideal customer, right? Sixth, that they have to put a higher value on the benefits that they enjoy from you versus I'm going to use the word price to mean not only their investment of dollars, but really an investment of time, right? Them spending time with you for you to walk them through various options, to bring to the table all the resources that you can bring to the table is an investment of their time in as much as their money's involved in this, right? And so there has to be higher perceived value of what you provide versus that. And lastly, that this ideal prospect has to represent an excellent source of further sales to them directly, and more importantly, future referrals, right? So they have to be that source of referrals. So those are characteristics of an ideal prospect of who you need to talk about, right? So these are important things to consider, but these aren't always things that are super easy to ascertain, right? And when you're developing who else you want to attract to your business, there's a bunch of other things to consider. Now, there's some general things to consider about gender, age, education, demographic kind of information, experience, income levels, personality, maybe their nationality or their background, where they come from. There's also a whole bunch of things to consider about who do you want to do a big chunk of your business with. Are you focused on first-time buyers? Are you focused more on investors that are going to be doing multiple loans with you over a period of time? Are you focused on people that are upgrading, families, moving from a house with one kid to a house that can have many kids in it? People that are looking to downsize, empty nesters, where all the kids are out. Do you want to focus on, are they your ideal target, right, of downsizing, moving from a bigger house down to a smaller house or a condo or something else like that? Are you more focused on refinancing, on people that are trying to restructure what they're trying to do? How about people that are looking to buy a second home or a vacation property, or people that are really just trying to buy land? So what I'd like to do is I'd like to open this up, and I'm going to turn on a polling question for you guys right now, and I'd like you to just take a second and really get feedback from you guys to say who is your ideal prospect. So this is a poll out there, and if you can all just chime in and go ahead and vote, this is the place where you can actually put in your answers to say who is really your ideal prospect. Who do you want to make sure that you're generating a lot of business with? Who do you want to be the magnet to attract, right? So votes are starting to come in. Go ahead and click on which one of these is your number one, right? And some of this says, I understand that especially if you're early in your mortgage career, you want anybody and everybody, right? Well, the reality is from a marketing standpoint, you need to be that attraction vehicle that can actually attract people to specific kinds of people, right? So looks like based on these votes that are coming in right now, a lot of you are talking about first-time home buyers. There's a lot of focus on that. Looks like right now we're at about 43% on first-time home buyers and a big chunk on refinancing, so families that are refinancing, so 33%. So thanks for participating in that. That gives us a great pulse. Thanks for a bunch of you participating in this poll. So that's great that you're focused on first-time home buyers. I think you'll appreciate some of the examples that we're going to be doing here in just a few minutes. So thanks for the results on that. All right. I'm going to close the poll right now and come back to our presentation here. All right. So these are all important things, and those are important things to think about what comes next in the second step, right? So one other thing to think about as you're thinking about who you want to attract is think to yourself, who is your best customer, right? For those of you that are focused on first-time buyers and refinancing, who is that best customer that you have, and what is it that makes them best for you? And I would encourage you to go out and actually interview them and ask them, what was great about working with you? What did they really enjoy? What were their decision points on how they chose to work with you? And then one other thing to consider is who should not be your customer? How many people have you worked with in the last 90 days that if you were really honest with yourself, you would say, you know what, I shouldn't have spent the time with them, right? That they should not be the person that I worked with. Certainly there's importance in attracting and getting deals done, but really, if you had the choice, would you work with them again? That's important to say, I don't want to attract those kind of people, so I don't want to be doing anything that would make me a magnet for those kind of people again in the future. So now that you have an idea about who you want to talk to, and we're going to focus our conversation today really on first-time buyers and refinancing, step 2 in this is what are you going to offer? What are you going to talk about that those people care about, right? And for this sense, there's a great resource. There's a concept out there in marketing called a buyer persona. And a buyer persona is really a caricature or a archetype of who you want to attract as your ideal customer. And it's really about what they care about, right? What are the things that they really want and care about in their opportunity to select you as the person to work with them. So based on what your ideal customers say matters to them, those are things that you need to make sure that you're talking about, right? That become part of your talk track on a regular basis and part of what you put out into social media to attract people. So one of the most important things when we talk about what you offer and what you're going to talk about is to focus on the benefits. So this is a logo for the most important radio station you will ever encounter, WIIFM. Stands for What's in It for Me, right? And this is the only station that your prospects are attuned to, that they're going to want to know when they're going to reach out to you or connect with you or read something from you, what's in it for them to do that with you, right? Why should they? What's the benefit of really working with you? So benefits are an interesting thing, and really benefits need to answer a handful of really key questions, right? That your messages, the things that you say, the things that you offer have to answer some really key questions. The first question is, why does your customer use you, right? Why does my customer use me? And many of you have some wonderful testimonials, many of them that are on your websites and other places, of the experience and people commenting on how great it was to work with you. It's important for you to understand what people valued, because what attracted them may not always be what they valued through the experience. So it's important to extract from them what they do. And it's important that when you think about what you're going to say in social media, that you are able to articulate why you. Why should someone use you, right? The second question is, why does your customer not use you? And this can come down to sort of what I like to call a win-loss analysis, right? So if someone's going to consider looking at you, and if someone's going to take the time to meet with you and shop around with you versus other brokers or direct lenders or anything else like that, what are the reasons why they don't choose you, right? Is it a personality conflict? Is it you weren't able to establish trust? It's real important for you to understand what are the objections or what are the reasons why people haven't chosen you before, right? And be able to address those things and be able to talk about those kind of things. The third question is, where is your customer, right? And many of you operate on a narrow geography and really working and farming a specific area. Some of you work on a much broader basis and cover a wider geography. So it's important for you to understand where are your ideal customers, right? And so here in Southern California, where I live, we've had for decades the phenomenon of massive brand new home tracts to be built, right? And so when you have these new home tracts, you have tons of homes that are focused on first-time buyers and other sizes. So there's this inherent geography of where people go because there's always this value around what's new, right? So there's a real question for you to answer, saying, where are my customers and where am I going to find them? Fourth is, when does your customer use you? Obviously, executing a loan or a refinance is driven by an event, right? The need to move into something new, move from an apartment or rental into a first-time home. Refinancing is driven by, most often, the desire to save money and taking advantage of rates in the marketplace. Sometimes people's hands are forced to do this, right? But it's really important for you to understand when does your customer use you and be able to talk about that when you're using and telling stories out on social media. And lastly, it's important for you to understand who is your competition, right? Who are the in-house bank loan officers that are trying to hold hostage their retail banking customers and get them into their products, right? Who are the other brokers in your market that are trying to go after first-time home buyers or refinance or any of those other kinds of things? But it's real important that you understand your competition and you understand how to talk about yourself that differentiates yourself from them, right? That shows what you bring to the table. Now, you don't need to go out and talk about them specifically in that, but you certainly want to be able to articulate what makes you different and what benefits you bring that are different than what other people bring, right? And so you really want to focus on those benefits. So here are some three different statements from VERICO websites, from different websites that I just pulled off of you. And I'd love for you guys to chime in and say, hey, is this a benefit or a feature? So this first one says, we search for the most competitive lenders in Canada to bring you the lowest mortgage rates. Good statement. Do you guys think that's a benefit or a feature? You can just type in on the question box there if you want to chime in with what you think the answer is. So you can read this statement in a couple different ways, right? But I'd love for you guys to chime in as to whether you think this is a benefit or a feature. I'm going to go through all three of them, and you guys can kind of chime in and put your answers into the comment field or the questions. The second one says, we do all the work for you. This came from one of the VERICO websites. And so this is an interesting statement, keyword work here, right, in terms of what happens. So do you think benefit or feature? Third one, we are paid by the lender. In most cases, residential sub-mortgage brokers are paid by the mortgage lender where we place the mortgage and not the client. Feature or benefit? So let me go back through these, and let's talk about each one. And you guys can tell me what you think they are. And if you'd like to just voice your opinion, you can hit *6 to unmute yourself and talk about what that is. So again, this first one says we search. So important verb there. We search for the most competitive lenders in Canada to bring you the lowest mortgage rates, right? So lowest mortgage rate being, is that a feature or a benefit? So my opinion on this one is it's more of a feature, right? If you think about benefits to people, benefits are either extrinsic or intrinsic, right? That they're things that they know about real obviously or things that they're not sure about, right? So I would say that this one is actually more of a feature. This is something that you do. You search to find the best rates out there. Is it a distinguishing feature? Do other brokers search for the lowest mortgage rates? Sure, of course. Anybody that's in a brokerage business, right? That's what they're there to do. So I would say this one's more of a feature, right? If we were to spin this and turn it into more of a benefit, the benefit would be we save you money, right? That by getting you the lowest rate, you're going to have the least amount of out-of-pocket costs, the least amount of interest paid over the long haul. It saves you money. Second one, we do all the work for you. Feature or benefit? I'm going to say benefit on this one, right? Because this one is a pretty easy jump to translate that says this is going to save me time. That you, as my mortgage agent, are going to do a bunch of stuff that otherwise I would have to do myself. And I think it's important to draw that distinction of in comparison to another experience of getting a loan, right? If they're working directly with a lender, if they're working directly through a bank, what kind of work are they going to have to do with that bank that they won't have to do with you, right? And so that translates to me. So I say this one's a benefit. I think it could be spun and be even stronger to say I'm going to save you time, right? I'm going to do a bunch of things. I'm going to tell you what it is, but at the end of the day, the work that you're going to have to do is provide me documentation and come in and sign it, right? And we're going to work through all of this. But I'm going to represent for you, and I'm going to do a lot of this work. So for me as a customer, this is a huge benefit because it's going to save me time. It means there's less that I have to do to actually get through this process. And then on the third one, I think this one is really a feature, right? So this is, we are paid by the lender. This is to really say, hey, customer, you're going to have no out-of-pocket costs on this, right? This is a feature of my programs is you don't have to pay me specifically anything. All of the lenders are the ones that pay me. So I think this is more of a feature. This is describing how the work happens, right, and how this happens to them. So I think it's important to distinguish those things, and you want to be able to, when you're talking and becoming a magnet, you want to speak in benefit language, and you want to not to speak in mortgage lending language. You want to speak in the language that your customers appreciate, right? So for first-time homebuyers that have never been through a loan, they're not going to understand all this language, right? They're not going to understand all the different terms and everything, and you have to do a lot of education, right? So it's important that you speak in social media in plain language that is in the words that your customer uses, right? So we want to speak benefits in the words that the customers use. All right, so let's go on to step number 3. The describing your benefits is the language or the selling points or the themes that you're going to want to talk about. Step 3 is, what are you going to tell your story? And this is a multiple-step process, but the key thing is to understand, where do your ideal prospects live, right? Where do they experience things? So I'm going to make a gross assumption in saying, hey, if you're going to focus on first-time home buyers, largely first-time home buyers are going to be in that range of 25 to 35, right, in terms of years old. If they're 25 to 35, they've grown up with technology. They've grown up with the Internet. They've grown up with social media being a part of what has happened, certainly more so on below 30s, but it's really important, right? So where you're going to choose to send that message is often, to simplify this, comes down between outbound or inbound. And it can be certainly an and situation. But if you think about outbound marketing or places to share your message, you can think of traditional old-school television advertising, phones, cold calling, radio ads, direct mail here, newspaper advertisements, any kind of print advertising. And then this one here is really about email marketing, right? And email marketing's been around for a while, and unfortunately we're all subject to this on a daily basis. Outbound marketing is interruption-based. It interrupts people where they are to get your message in front of them. And the big challenge for you guys as mortgage brokers is that executing a loan is an event, and it's an event that in the vast majority of people's lives doesn't happen very often, right? So outbound marketing, interrupting them, timing is critical in terms of where you do that. So these things are all really important. And then I added one that I think has crossover into both of these areas, and that is this microphone here and the idea of public speaking, live networking, but actually being face-to-face with people that you've never met before to tell about what you do, right? And that's an important form of how to do that. And so it's important that when you're at your holiday parties through the month of December, that when you're out there talking and you're meeting people for the first time and you tell them that you're a mortgage broker, that you talk about the benefits. You talk about success stories. You tell stories about recent customers and things that have happened, right? That you're telling those kinds of stories. Now, inbound says that you're telling those stories on a place so that when people are in need of that event to actually do a loan, that they find you. And that could be them finding you based on a referral from a friend or a family member. That could be them finding you based on, hey, they did a search on Facebook and your business came up, right? Or they did a search on the web and their business came up. So inbound says you're putting out lots of great information about what it is you do and the benefits that you bring, so that when people have the need, and especially that event-driven need for loans, that they find you and that what you say resonates with them, right? And so we're gonna talk about, well, you have to choose your platforms of where you're going to do this. So you have to decide where you're going to do that. So for our purposes today, we're going to talk about using Facebook as a tool, a social media tool, and a way to attract inbound, be an inbound platform of helping people find you and networking with people. Now, I'm not going to go through a lot of technical things. We're really going to talk about how to be able to share these messages and be able to attract people. So one quick note for those of you that are unsure of whether Facebook or any social media platform is a viable platform for you to attract prospects and the right ideal prospects. I just wanted to share this with you. This is a chart that was published by HubSpot based on their State of Inbound Marketing survey for 2012. Social media has a 100% higher lead-to-close rate than outbound marketing. So what that says is, for putting out information, the leads that you get will close at twice as higher rate using social media as compared to traditional outbound marketing methods, right? Now, if you look at that in aggregate, outbound marketing in aggregate converted at a 2% rate, right? So every 2 out of 100 people that you've marketed to through direct mail and cold calls and all these other methods could convert to a customer, right? In a social media world, that doubles and turns into 4%. So this is based on real data that was published by HubSpot in using their platform in their survey. So it works, and it's twice as effective as outbound. So here's a couple things to think about when we talk about especially using Facebook as a social media tool to be a magnet and attract your ideal prospects. One is you have to treat it like a cocktail party. So what does that mean? Well, at a cocktail party, you're meeting people, everyone's social, you're talking, you're telling stories, you're being able to be social, right? So here are 5 rules for social media, and this comes from Dave Kirpin, and this was an article that appeared in Inc. magazine's website, inc.com. The link is here on the page, so when you get this, you can actually go out there and read all the details to it. But I just wanted to share this with you for a second and say the first thing, and Dave's whole take on this was, hey, you really need to treat social media as a place where it's just like the cocktail party where you're just talking, right? And so the first thing is you have to listen first and never stop listening. So for a long time, listening has been a really hard thing, right? Companies didn't have, prior to social media, the ways that people listened was they did surveys, they did focus groups, they did market research, they did all these things. With social media, you can listen and you can search for a specific keyword and see all the people that are talking about it in an instant. Excuse me there. So you can use Facebook's search function and look around for, do a search on shopping for loans, do a search on refinance, do a search on first-time home buyers, and you can see what comes up. You can see what people are talking about. You can do this on Twitter as well. Secondly, tell, don't sell. This is an important premise in that Facebook and a cocktail party is all about storytelling, right? You've been at cocktail parties and you've met somebody that comes up to you and is just trying to sell you, and everyone can smell it a mile away, and that's the person that nobody wants to go talk to, right? So, so this really speaks to relationship building, and I know many of you have a very relational focus in how you grow your practice. And so in social media, that happens as well, right? And so that also has an implication to it that says it isn't fast, right? It isn't instantaneous. You're building relationships. You're creating ways that make it easy for people to share great things that you say, right? And so the question is what story should you tell? Well, really, there's an endless list of stories to tell. Telling the stories of how you got into this business, telling the stories of how to overcome an obstacle of a specific case that you had. Tell the stories of some of your staff members that have joined your practice and how they've grown with you over time. Tell the stories of things that you do in the community. Thirdly, is you've got to be authentic. Facebook is people relating to people. Yes, you have a Facebook business page that is about your business, but at the end of the day, on Facebook, everybody knows that there's a person posting these things, right? And many of you are known in your markets for your name, for who you are. Your business has a name, but really people know you by your first and last name, by the people in your firm. So you need to be open, you need to be transparent, you need to say it just like you say it at a cocktail party to a trusted friend, right? So the more authentic you are, the more you are at expressing your true self, your personality, and being honest with the mistakes and with the vulnerabilities, the more people will be drawn to you. People will be more drawn to you telling about the hiccups that you have than about this great polished message of what you do so well, right? Number 4 is you need to respond to people. As Dave in his article says, the 4 most important words in social media are thank you and I'm sorry, right? In that you need to thank people when they engage with you on social media. And we're going to talk about what engagement means in just a minute. But you need to be saying thank you. You need to be giving shout-outs to people. You need to be recognizing people. And one of the tremendous advantages that Facebook has as a platform is you can tag other businesses, other people in your posts. And as a result of doing that, everyone that person is connected to has an opportunity to see what you said about them in their newsfeed, right? And so it's really important that you use that opportunity to very specifically tag people. 5th, and I think this is the most important, is you have to be valuable. You have to be creating and giving value to people in educating them, helping them to solve problems, helping them to become aware of things, appreciating them. You need to establish yourself as somebody that has an opinion and somebody's opinion that matters, right? And to a certain extent, education, but there also is an entertainment value to this, right? That at a cocktail party, you know, the person that can be entertaining, whether it's telling a joke or telling an animated story or making people smile or laugh or pull on their heartstrings, that you need to be valuable about that, right? So you need to be telling things from your heart and telling things from your sense of humor. And it's really critical to be able to be valuable when you're on Facebook and social media. So how do you tell your story? Well, the place where you tell your story in Facebook is doing status updates, right? And so in your Facebook page, there's 2 places where you'll see this. One is on your timeline, right? So when you go to your business page, and you should all be doing this on your business page, not your personal profile, right? And there's a whole bunch of reasons why, but the simplest reason is that on a business page, people can like you. They don't need to be connected to you as a friend, right? And there's no filter that prevents people from doing that. So when you go to your timeline, which is your main page where you land when you manage your business page, you have this status update field, right? And in the status update field, you can type 5,000 characters. So you can tell all kinds of stories. You can post links. You can put pictures and videos. You can ask questions. So the key to telling your story is to post every single day, right? At least once a day. More times if you can, if you have something valuable to say. And make it visual. Even if you're posting a quick update, go out there on Google and do a Google image search and see if you can find an image that really reflects what you're wanting to talk about. And post that and talk about it. And oh, by the way, you don't actually have to log on to Facebook every single day to post. You can schedule your post in advance. So you can actually get on Monday morning, get onto Facebook and create 5 or 6 posts, schedule them out for the whole week, and now you have posts out there. And then you can just react and tell stories as they happen during the week, right? So you can actually do this. But it's really important to have frequency, to have consistency, because that builds something that people can predict, and it's vital to be able to become a magnet. Second step is really to focus on engagement. And by engagement, we mean that people are doing something with what you're posting, right? And so to do that, you want to create what we call remarkable content. Not that it's, oh, wow, but that it makes people want to remark on it. It makes people want to comment or like or share. So here's a list of a few things that you can share to engage people. Post helpful tips, right? Do a top 5 list, a top 7 list, and do one per post over the course of a week. Share your opinion on a new product by a new lender. Share your opinion on a political situation in your city or town. Share your opinion about a specific cause or a social issue that you have passion around. Ask questions of people. Pose a question that you don't have a specific answer to, and just say, hey, let's discuss. Share good news. When you have wins, when your clients close on a loan that was really difficult, share that good news. Take pictures of them. Challenge people, right? Challenge people to do something different. Challenge them to engage in a specific cause. Challenge them to do something around the holidays. But do something that's around engagement, not around broadcasting, right? If you want to go deeper into thinking about what it means to engage in this social web world we have, this is a great book. It's called Engage by an author named Brian Solis. And it's a little bit entertaining because the foreword is by Ashton Kutcher. Brian's this really kind of soft-spoken guy. I've met him. I've seen him talk in person. But this is a great book around one way to think about engaging as a business using this new social web. Some of his examples and stories are for bigger brands, but many of the lessons are great and can really apply. So that's a great resource for you. So what does it mean to engage? And so we're talking about likes, shares, and comments, right? And so this is a recent post just from a few days ago by Brian Tracy. Now, obviously, Brian is a big public figure, right? He's been writing and speaking and teaching people for 35 years. So he has a pretty big following. And so this was a post, and this was a picture, right? It's a picture out of one of his books. It's about self-confidence, right? The key to success is for you to make a habit throughout your life of doing the things you fear. Well, look at the engagement that he had on this particular post. And notice what he said. The post is very short. It's an image. But he says, please like and share this photo if you agree. Well, look what happened. 4,166 people liked it. It was shared 2,433 times, and there were 92 comments. That's engagement, right? Now, I'm not saying you can get this right out of the gate, but if you ask people to like and share this and you get hundreds or thousands, it's working, right? You have a lot of engagement. And so those are the things that you want to track. You want to track likes, comments, and shares. Those are a great measure of engagement. Another important thing is that you want to have a call to action. You notice in that post that Brian made, he asked people to like and share this, right? And that you want to be very prescriptive. Because let's face it, when many of us are on Facebook, we're in that mindless mode of just consuming, right? And so you want to give very specific direction. Please click like if. Tell me what you think. Share this if, or share this to everybody that you know. This is important, right? Ask for answers to a question. So you want to have a call to action. So here's a couple of examples of VERICO agents out there. This one comes from the Mortgage Wellness Group, and they just recently had a great client appreciation event. And so this client appreciation event happened on November the 24th, and they showed the movie The Grinch and invited families to come. So notice what they put in the post, right? They said, we still have some space. Please RSVP to this post or to this email address and include how many will be joining you. Great call to action. Ask people to do it. So you notice that, hey, in the comments, a couple people replied, right? And then they got emails and some other people liked this. So, and a few days later, just a few days ago, they posted and said, hey, thanks for everybody that came out. Again, those important 4 words, thank you and I'm sorry. They said thanks to everybody that came out. So that was a great example of a call to action. Here's another great example that is also very fun. Capital Mortgages. said, here was the post. It said, what do you think of Richard Morgan's new car wrap? A big thanks to the folks at K6 Media for getting this done. So they did a couple of things here, right, is they asked you what you think. That's asking for a comment, right? And they recognized the company that did this. And you'll notice in here that the K6 Media is linked, right? So that's a hyperlink, so somebody can click and go to K6 Media's Facebook page to learn about it. Well, look at this. They had 2 shares, they had 7 comments, and 8 people liked it. So it was a good call to action in that it asked people to comment here, right? And some of the comments were really fun, right? Oh, sweet ride, looks great. And Richard even commented back and said what was going, right? So he responded. To the call to action. So that was a great example. Another important thing here is to really apply what we call Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule, right? In that on Facebook, everybody knows that this is a business page and that you help people get loans, right? So for every 4 posts that you make that are educational, social, telling people things about benefits and about what you do, make one of those posts a sales message. This happens to be a real estate agent in Vancouver that made this post, right? And the post had a light but a call to action in it, and it said, hey, 4 months left to qualify for the $10,000 first-time homebuyer credit in British Columbia. And so she goes through and she has a little bit of information and says, hey, this ends March 31st. So, now's the time to act. So this is an example of a post that would be something that is talking specifically about what you offer, right? So think about that 80-20 balance or 90-10 balance in maybe once a week when you're posting, post something that is a little bit salesy, that is a little bit creates urgency, has a call to action, to pick up the phone, to click through to something, to actually do something with your services, right? So follow that 80-20 rule. Lastly is make it fun. We saw the car wrap that was there. Here's a fun picture, and this comes from a Facebook page that's called Colorado First-Time Homebuyer. And this is a group that really does matching. There's a no fee, but on their Facebook page, they do a fantastic job of taking pictures of people closing deals. So here's a first-time homebuyer, and you got to love the comment. It says, congrats to the Ruckers, Becky loves pictures. We think not, right? And so they have a great picture of Becky sticking out her tongue. And it was great because later down in here in the comments, Becky posted, right? And she says, yeah, I'm not thrilled to be in front of the camera. Sorry, folks. One for the road with a little happy face, right? So this is good engagement. And making it fun and making fun of their new client was all in good humor, and she took it well, and she responded. But that's an example of making it fun, right? Let your sense of humor come through and make fun of yourself or other people in the neighborhood or other things like that, and that has entertainment value to it, right? That has those things that people really pick up on. I don't know if you guys watch the Ellen DeGeneres show. The Ellen DeGeneres show is a very big daytime talk show here in the U.S. Ellen's obviously been a very prominent actress and comedian, but she actually does a great job of leveraging social media, and she brings tweets and text messages, and she always has these funny segments of what people do on social media that is hilarious. So it's a great way to make it fun. All right, now time to take action. How do you become this magnet and execute this on Facebook? We talked about being really clear about who your ideal prospect is and what the benefits are that you bring to the table. What is your uniqueness? What is your personality? And being able to talk about those things and where to talk about them and how to talk about them on Facebook. So here's your step-by-step plan on how to do this. First thing, I want you to take a plain piece of paper, and I want you to write down a bunch of ideas of what you could talk about and share that lines up with who your ideal customer is and what your benefits are and your uniquenesses in the marketplace. What could you talk about your business on Facebook? And just brainstorm. Just come up with a bunch of different things and think about things that have happened in the last 30 to 60 days think about things where people really appreciated what you did, where you've had successes, where you've had struggles. And just think about those things and generate a bunch of ideas and just throw a bunch of things down on paper and then look through them and say, well, what would I really want to talk about? Then you want to make a plan. And I think the best way to make a plan is actually to build a content calendar. And remember, for every hour spent in planning, it typically saves 5 to 10 hours in execution. So this is about building a plan. So you want to build a content calendar. So here's a really simple way to build a spreadsheet and build a content calendar, right? And I like to recommend that you think about themes, that themes can last a week or a month. And remember, on Facebook, we got to make sure that we're doing a minimum of 1 post a day. So in this particular example, this would be looking into the next 3 weeks of December that I just picked a theme, right? And these are all aligned around first-time home buyers, right? So first one would be 5 things new home buyers need to know. And that would be the theme for next week. And so on Monday, I'm going to post a photo. I'm going to post a photo of a recent first-time home buyer, somebody that's in process, right? So that means I got to take a picture of a client, and I have to get their permission that I can use their picture on Facebook. Secondly, I'm going to tell a customer story, right? I'm going to tell a story about somebody that had a particularly challenging element of what they had to do and what we did to overcome it and how it happened, right? Ideally, if I can have a photo with that, that would be great as well. Wednesday, I'm going to show a photo of another customer, right? And I'm going to include one of those 5 things that new home buyers need to know. On Thursday, I'm going to have a salesy message, right? Item 4 in this list is going to be a little bit salesy, and I'm going to have a link to a tool that I have on my website. Maybe it's a calculator, right? But I'm going to actually say, go do this and try to lead them into my process to have them engage. And on Friday, I'm going to post a video. I'm going to record a 30-second to a minute-and-a-half video and says, hey, bring in your bank offer and we'll shop it for you, right? Tell us what the bank's offered you and the structure of that loan and give us an opportunity to shop it for you and tell it about what you're going to do through that process, right? And these are all just ideas and examples. The following week, save money on your loan, right? Again, benefit-oriented, save money. What do you need to save on? And a whole bunch of things to talk about on there. Right, again, a link to a loan calculator or some other tool that has a little bit of a sales process to it. The last week, before and after. And this one was, I took cues from Colorado's first-time homebuyer Facebook page that has photos that people have submitted that said, hey, here's the house totally empty when we moved into it, and here's what we did with it, right? It's a before and after thing. You could do it great if somebody's refinancing to be able to do a remodel. Have before and afters, but have there be a story around the house, right? Have it be a story around the house or the property or the vacation home of what happened, right? Maybe for people that are looking at retired or people that are empty nesters, on the Thursday would be about we help you when you have to downsize too, right? But incorporate visuals as much as you can in building this content calendar. Now, the great part about building this content calendar is once the content calendar is there, hey, all you got to do is now go and actually write, right? You have your prompts. Don't rethink it. If you build your content calendar out, just execute on the plan and then evaluate afterwards, right? And I would encourage you to do at least for 2 to 4 weeks, ideally 4 weeks, and then just go and run. Just execute. Don't think about it anymore. Don't reanalyze it. Just go do it, right? Remember, you're trying to be a magnet to the people that you're trying to attract, your ideal prospect. So just go out there and do it. Nike's saying, right? Just go do it. Build your plan. Spend some time building that plan, but then just go out there and post. Find the pictures, make it happen, and do it. And then measure your progress. So one of the great parts about social media is you get statistics, right? So in measuring your progress, the area you want to click on is when you go to your Facebook business page, you want to click on Insights. And when you first go to your page, up above always opens the admin console. And one of the boxes in the middle, on the second row down, there's 3 boxes across there. The middle one is your insight statistics. So if you click Show Insights, you'll be able to get a graph like this. And this would show you your key things, right? It's going to show you number of posts, people talking about this, and your weekly total reach, right? So this was just an image I pulled off the web. So right now, this business has 105 likes. And those are people that have clicked on the page, which says, hey, I want to hear about what you're doing. right? It's going to show up in my news feed. Well, friends of those, all those 105 people are connected to 23,000 people, 24,000 people almost, right? Now, they've had a little bit of decrease in terms of people talking about it, but their weekly total reach was 126 people. And so you can see where the graph goes. And you'll notice that they haven't posted very much. It looks like in the last 4 weeks, they've only posted 5-6 times. So again, the more you post, the more opportunity there is for people to measure. So you can see what happens. Even more important than this graph, just below this, there is a set of graphs, or there's a report on every post that you did, and that what it's going to do is it's going to show you your reach, right? It's going to actually show you what your reach was, right? And so, for instance, on this one, you can see that down here was the really best. That's a really dark color to highlight, huh? Down here, that this one post on September 19th reached 54 people. There were 17 engaged users, and 10 people were talking about it. So Facebook has this bar graph here that's called virality, which is kind of a combination of those three numbers, right? Of who it reached, how many people engaged with it, meaning they did something with it, right? They commented, they liked, they shared it, and then how many people were really talking about it. And so that's a great measure. So you can see that was a 18, almost 19%. And so what you're going to want to do when you measure your progress, so ideal case, you build a plan for a month, you go execute for a month, then you come back and you look at your statistics and say, well, what really had traction, right? What really resonated with people, and what was really important? How do we do more of those kinds of things, right? Or maybe there was somebody that you tagged in there that obviously has a big audience and was pretty engaged, and they capitalized on this. That's the indicators of what you want to do more of, right? And so you're really looking for those nuggets that tell you, what should we do more of? Are they success stories? Are they pictures? What do we want to do? So you want to measure your progress, and then you want to adjust your plan, right? So for the next 30 days of what you're going to build your content calendar on, do more of the things that attracted people and where you really were that magnet, right? And again, at the end of the day, this is all about increasing your reach and increasing the number of people that are engaged with you. I wouldn't worry so much about the likes number, how many likes you have. I would really look at that engagement number, right, of people talking about it, people commenting, people engaged about this. Those are the numbers that the more you push that, the more people that you're going to have that are going to be in your sphere there. So you want to adjust your plan and then go redo the whole process again. So this take action is 5 steps. Again, generate the ideas, just brainstorm. What stories do you want to tell? Create that content calendar and calendarize what you're going to talk about, because that gives you the ability to pre-create the posts and schedule them, so you can do it in 1 or 2 sittings rather than having to be online every day. Now, engaging with people is you're going to want to make sure that when you're executing the plan, part of the plan says that you're going to respond to people, right? So as people comment or like it, you're going to want to respond to them and say, hey, thanks for that, or remember, thank you and I'm sorry. Those are the things you always want to be saying. Measure those results and then adjust your plan and go back up to the top and repeat, right? Rebuild your content calendar. If you can get on this regular monthly cycle, you're going to start to see things happen. You're going to see that through consistent behavior and consistent engagement that your metrics will improve. All right. It is now time for us to take questions. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to put them into the question box there, and Pin can be able to do that. If you want to unmute yourself, again, it's *6 to unmute, and we can take any questions that anybody has about Facebook or about these topics that we talked about today. Are there any questions out there, Pin?
Yes. This one is from Susan. How do you get more people to like your business Facebook page?
So one way that you get people to like your Facebook page is by asking them, right? And so this is usually you through email, through posts, is just to simply ask them. But I would advise you to say, I wouldn't worry as much about how many people like your page, because you can have tremendous reach and tremendous engagement from 150 people liking your page. And so that number of likes I would worry less about. Really what you're wanting to see is you're wanting to see the people talking about this and the engagement and the virality that we just talked about to be the things that you're going to drive, right? And so, remember that somebody liking your page takes a little bit more overhead than the normal day-to-day work on Facebook, right? Most people's experience with Facebook is only through their news feed, right? That they see things that other people are posting, and that's where the primary engagement happens. There's not a ton of people that do searches or look specifically and do a lot of liking of pages. That said, a great way to get more people to like your page is to go onto Facebook and use Facebook as your business page, right? So when you go onto Facebook, there's an opportunity for you when you're on Facebook to choose how you use Facebook, right? And so I'll show you an example of that right here. So let me go back to our presentation, and I'm going to share out my screen here real quick. And so when I share the screen, when you go to Facebook, up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little triangle and when you click on that triangle.
Are you trying to share your desktop?
I am in a second.
Oh, okay. It's probably not going to work.
I'm not okay. Sure. All right, then I will not do that. I wonder if it'll let me exit out of there.
Are you trying to show something specifically on Facebook? Maybe I can go from my computer here.
It's okay. I'll be able to talk to it.
Okay.
Will it let me stop sharing? I pushed the wrong button. Anyway, so up in the upper right-hand corner, there is that triangle. And so what you can do is you can say use Facebook as, and then use it as your business page. And then a great way to get other likes is to go around to other businesses, people in your area that are related to your ideal prospects, that are other businesses that you do things with, and like those, right? So by liking someone else's page, oftentimes you will get a certain percentage of those that will reciprocate and like your page as well. Make sense?
Great. Okay, so we've got a couple more questions here. This one's from Winona. Do you have to open a separate business page? She says that she has a page under her personal but can't seem to make comments on other sites with her business page.
Okay.
So what's your recommendation between using her personal Facebook page as her business page versus an actually creating a business page?
I recommend that you don't use your personal page as your business. There's the biggest reason why is that for you to connect with other people as your business, that you have to friend people, right? And so it creates a bit of overhead there of what you want to do. So I would recommend you set up a specific business page on your system to be able to post and be able to share information. So can you guys see my screen now? It says that I'm sharing.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So I'm logged in as my account, right? And so this triangle up here in the upper right-hand corner, that you can see that use Facebook ads. And so right now you can see I'm using Facebook as Mike Albert Focal Point Business Coaching, right? I can use it as my personal page, but right now I'm using it as my business, right? And so this page right here is Colorado First-Time Homebuyer, right? And so if I'm using Facebook as my business page, I can come in here and I can like their page, right? And if I like their page, they may like my page back. And it's a way for me to socially network and connect with other people. One quick thing to show you about this page here is that they post a lot of pictures, right? So each of these pictures that you see here are people that have closed their first home, right? And so they post a lot of pictures of people. There's the Ruckers that we showed the picture of. They show lots of pictures of people And you can see that these statistics right here, they have 99 people who like this just in November and 1,000 people talking about it, right? So this Facebook page does a really good job. And they're really good at posting pictures about all of their first-time home buyers. So that's what I wanted to show. Were there any other questions that people have?
Yeah, let me just scroll to it. Hang on one second. This question is from Alan. I mean, like in your example just now in the Colorado first-time home buyers, like that person or that company has posted a lot of photos of their clients. And Alan's question is it an imposition on someone's privacy to ask them for photos?
You need to make sure that you do ask, right? And because one of the things that you want to do is you want to, if they're on Facebook, you want to tag them. And you want to ask their permission to be able to do that, right? But tagging them gives them then the opportunity to have all of their friends on Facebook see that they worked with your business. So take pictures, but be very overt and very clear with people to say, hey, I'm going to post this on Facebook. Is that okay?
Right. And also a related question from Julie. Some clients might be sensitive around money. So what are some of the precautions that people should take when talking about, mortgage amounts on Facebook?
Well, I would say if you're going to use somebody's name and you're going to talk about their specific scenario, you're going to want to get you're going to want to show them what you're going to say and make sure they get permission. Otherwise, you can talk about it anonymously as a specific case, right, without using their name, and talk about the situation that happened, right? But ask their permission to say, do you mind if I talk about your situation, but I do it anonymously on Facebook? So you're going to want to make sure that you're very much clear and present and telling them what you're going to share, and that you tell them that you did it and make sure that they see it, and if they have any issues that they can tell you, right? Because it is really easy on
I think we have time for just one more question, and that is it ever appropriate to talk about politics on social media?
It can be a very polarizing thing, right? And I know that there are many people that do, and certainly in the U.S., just going through a presidential election, there are many people that do talk about politics. You just need to know that there's a lot of emotion associated with politics, right? But again, if your political views and the things that you do, you put out there in the community, right? That if it's known that you support certain candidates or you work on specific committees, and it's a part of who you are, I think you should absolutely talk about it, right? You need to talk about it in a respectful way, and you need to talk about it, but it's part of you and it's part of your opinion. You do need to recognize that putting that opinion out there there may be people that categorically choose not to work with you because you have that opinion. But if it's an important part of who you are, I think you just need to do it in a tactful way, in a way that you would at a cocktail party, right, where you have people that you don't know, right? So whatever your own comfort is with sharing those things, I think you need to do that in that way. But if it's a big part of who you are and you have a political cause that's real important to you, and it's a big part of who you are, then that just fits in with being authentic, right? And you want to do it in a way that isn't necessarily polarizing to people, but I think it is important to be able to share those kinds of things. And the other side of this is there are political things that happen in your province, in your city, in your county that could have implications to your business. And so if you have an opinion about those things, or if you have, things that you think are appropriate of how to deal with a particular ruling or anything else like that, share those.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if you've heard, but over the during the year, over the summer, there was actually quite some significant mortgage rules that were passed by some of our regulators in Canada. So definitely a lot of material to talk about, a lot of rule changes, definitely a lot of content that our mortgage brokers can discuss over Facebook and use it as an educational platform.
Right.
So I think, Mike, we're just coming up on an hour. If you want to repeat that, the email that people should send their questions to, I see that you've got it on screen. So it's verico@focalpointcoaching.com. If you've got any further questions about Facebook, please feel free to use that email and send it on over to Mike.
Great, and we have 2 bonus offers for you guys today. The first one is it's 15 Facebook post ideas targeting first-time home buyers, and this is a document that has a lot of ideas for you, right? So these are 15 ideas, and we also have this is from HubSpot, an ebook, How to Master Facebook Marketing in 10 Days. So if you just send an email to verico@focalpointcoaching.com, we'll get those out to you right away. Just a quick primer for you guys. In 2 weeks, on December 14th, Rupert's going to be back, and we're going to be talking about the way to wealth. And this is a formula for managing business that distills down key metrics and really simplifies it down to a set of inputs and outputs. And we're going to show you how to use this formula to manage your business and really increase your bottom line by 50% or more in the coming months using real-life examples from the field, right? So look forward to that on December the 14th. So
Great.
Thanks, everybody, for your attention and your great questions today. Really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you in about a month.
Great. Thank you so much, Mike.